The Soviet Motorized Rifle Squad was born in the 1917 Russian Revolution and forged in their great patriotic defense of the Russian homeland during World War II. The memory of the defense of Mother Russia and revenge against the fascist invaders is still a strong, basic, driving force in Soviet society and in the Red Army of today. Modern war, with all its tanks, artillery, rockets, and planes, still relies on infantry as its basic ground-gaining combat arm to seize and hold key terrain. In the Russian army, with all its modern equipment, the basic element is the Soviet Motorized Rifle Squad. An integral part of the Soviet Motorized Rifle Squad is its infantry fighting vehicle. The Russians also use tracked or wheeled APCs with firing ports. The BMP is engineered around the Soviet 8-man squad. It is controlled by the vehicle commander and squad leader, who rides behind the driver. The vehicle also has a gunner, who, with the driver, remains with the vehicle at all times. 4 in the squad are automatic riflemen, and along with the squad leader are armed with AKMs or folding stock versions of the AKM. Effective range, 300 meters. 2 are PKM machine gunners, firing a long 7.62 millimeter round, effectively to 1,000 meters. 1 man carries an RPG-7 anti-tank grenade launcher. The 9th passenger is a platoon sniper, armed with an SVD Dragunov rifle, firing the powerful PK cartridge, or a radio operator for the platoon commander, or an SA-7 Grail surface-to-air missile gunner. The BMP is quickly prepared for swimming, and a built-in pressure system seals it against NBC attack, while the crew and squad remain unmasked inside. There are 9 firing points, 4 on each side, and 1 in the left rear door. Each port has a sighting glass and periscope. The first port on each side is for a PKM machine gun, 4 Sager anti-tank guided missiles, individually mounted on a rail over the 73 millimeter gun. Are fired and aimed in flight by the vehicle's gunner out to 3,000 meters. The BMP's turret has a 73 millimeter gun that automatically selects and loads heat or high explosive ammo and fires it effectively to 800 meters. Our PKT coax machine gun is also manned by the BMP gunner. He has a day and night periscope and infrared and passive starlight scope. The squad lives, trains, and fights as a unit. It does not split into fire teams as we do. From the cradle on, every Soviet soldier has been taught teamwork in a collective nursery that emphasizes group games and group participation. At Boy Scouting age, young pioneers get uniforms and begin formal training. At 16 and 17 years old in the Young Communist League, they learn parachuting, driving, or radio operating skills. When draft day comes, every young inductee leaves home for 2 years of military duty as soldier, sailor, or airman. They come from many backgrounds: cities, villages, industrial centers and farms, and different races. Soviet Russia is made up of over 170 ethnic groups: 40% Russian, 13% Ukrainian, 3% Belarusians, and another 3% Usabegs. Their uniform is basic, simple, and practical. The overcoat doubles as a sleeping bag. Foot wrappings serve as socks. The gas mask and protective suit are respected and always close by. Pay is low, about $10 a month. But there is little free time to spend it and little to spend it on. The Soviet soldier learns to march by the numbers. Then, as part of a unit. PT is a serious business, rigorous and extensive. Basic training begins with up to 50 hours PT a week. When the soldier reaches his unit, he does at least 30 minutes of calisthenics a day and periodically takes timed PT tests, always with his unit, that include long-distance runs with weapons and full field gear. At least once a year, he has to run half a mile wearing his gas mask. Food is monotonous, but sufficient to develop personal toughness, endurance, and maximum physical efficiency. For most Soviet soldiers, this is no different than conditions they left at home. Weapon firing is stressed in theory. Then in practice, with live rounds. Dry runs are held over and over and over on the ground, from vehicles, on defense, on offense, until they learn their team position and team job and do it correctly and very well. One man in each platoon is a sniper, and along with the RPG-7 and rail gunners, receives special and intensive training. All training is repeated over and over until each squad member reacts instinctively under several different staged combat situations. The average Soviet trainee works up to 100 hours a week, learning, doing, perfecting his role in his Red Army. TMs are not given out to trainees. Instructors do chalk talks, put on demonstrations, and the students take copious notes. Their notebooks become their own personal property, and they keep them throughout their service career for constant reference. Drivers and driver mechanics are few and far between, so the Russians teach thousands of soldiers these skills, and the soldiers perform these skills throughout their entire military careers. Political training on the party line is important. Allegiance to Mother Russia is a regular block of training time, usually each evening. From cradle to grave, the memory of World War II is an integral part of Soviet life. Mass graves, war memorials, and hero statues are revered throughout Soviet Russia. The Russian soldier is steeped in the works of Marx and Lenin, almost to a religious fervor. Lenin's portrait hangs in unit day rooms, overlooking the nightly political sessions that emphasize communist doctrines and self-criticism. Each soldier is taught so-called weaknesses of the capitalistic and imperialistic nations that have become the new Soviet enemy. Some young soldiers join the Communist Party. Most do not. But all are regimented to think, act, and do what their military and political instructors and leaders demand. There is a built-in system of informers, and harsh discipline quickly catches up with malcontents, shirkers, and those who do not meet unit standards. Russians believe physical, technical, and psychological preparation is absolutely necessary to prepare small units to fight alone, in isolation, cut off, as is the case so often in violent combat. Their soldier's oath reads in part, "I swear to learn conscientiously the trade of war." Weapon in hand, each soldier takes the oath and cherishes the swearing in as a high moment in his entire life. Many parents attend these ceremonies, usually wearing the medals they have received in military or civilian service to Mother Russia. Trainees work for and are decorated with proficiency and guardsman badges for mastery of selected advanced training programs. The motorized rifle squad can function in many environments. Is taught that tanks are a principal attack weapon in the combined arms team, and is trained to destroy enemy tanks at long ranges with missiles, at shorter ranges with guns and rockets, and in close with mines, hand-thrown heat grenades, and Molotov cocktails. They are taught to do their job wearing gas masks and protective gear for many hours at a time. They learn NBC reconnaissance, how to operate in contaminated areas, and how to decontaminate using varieties of equipment. The infantryman is taught to move through smoke and fire, using it to cover his attack. Liberating and defending cities, towns, and villages is important training that receives special attention. Tall and burning buildings are not obstacles to a trained the offensive. After an exercise, they relax, confident they are ready for any assignment or mission. When the 2-year service ends, the Russian draftees go home but remain on call to defend their homeland. The Soviet squad is well trained. It moves in excellent transportation on land, in the air, and on the sea. Each man is superbly conditioned, well-trained technically, and psychologically conditioned to believe in his country and his government enough to fight its war. Their special training includes anti-tank, NBC, fighting in cities, towns, and villages, on land or sea, or from the air. Have they weak points? An important few. They train as a team, always as a team. Thus, they do not score high in personal initiative on the battlefield. They do not stress multiple or cross-training on the battlefield. Training of the Soviet squad is directed toward the development and maintenance of the initiative of attack through tight control, discipline, and repetition to react automatically under conditions of violent modern warfare. But his socialist environment has little regard for the individual soldier. Desperate, long, hard training fails to develop individual initiative where it is most needed, when authority is removed or isolation imposed, in the loneliness of combat. The Soviet squad can be defeated by disrupting its game plan and isolating it from its leadership. The leaderless squad quickly goes downhill and loses much of its team effect. At that point, the scales tip our way.